All right, in 3, 2, 1.
Run! Go! This is the podcast!
Are you telling me that you built a time machine? Out of a podcast?
I have come here to chew bubblegum and
Podcast.
and I'm all out of bubblegum.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Get to the Podcast. That's Get to the Podcast with the number 2. My name is Tiago D'Souza.
I'm Nick Gambino.
And I'm Neal Carson.
Hulk smash!
All right, dude, calm down.
Hulk smash. Hulk don't like Nick.
All right. Are you done?
No, I'm never done.
All
Damn
right.
it.
Well, let's talk about who we have here with us. I mean, not with us here in, like, the physical room.
Yeah.
Because we don't roll that way. He's 3 hours behind. It's like 3 in the morning. Where
He's
he
in the
is.
past.
He's in the past, exactly.
He's in the past being in the
For
future.
us, like that
He's
up
in
to the
our
past.
past.
He's in our past, exactly.
Oh, wow.
We have Mike from MDX Pods.
Yes.
MDX Pods, he has 2 podcasts. He has Remake Rewind, which is an awesome podcast. He does it with Dustin and Double D, right, Mike? That's his name?
Double D, David Delgado.
Yep. And they basically cover movies and their remakes. So, like, you know, they could do the original RoboCop and then the new one, and they just compare them, like the evolution, and discuss that. So it's really entertaining. I love their Point Break episode, and they did a recent Punisher episode, which is really good. He also has another podcast that he does with his wife, which is Ruin My Childhood, which is where they take movies that they watched as kids that they loved, and it's sort of they watch it now and see if it still holds up. Spoiler alert, it sometimes doesn't.
Yes.
Which is, you know, depressing.
Surprisingly, most of the time it has, though, which is weird. We thought we'd have a lot more episodes where we were like, oh, man, this sucks. But for the most part, they do hold up.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah,
but maybe we've just been conveniently picking ones we want to watch again. I don't know.
Yeah, probably. It's also really hard to be objective about movies that you loved.
It's an emotional thing.
It's true.
Yeah. So, but anyways, welcome to the podcast, Mike. We've actually guested.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we've guested on your Remake Rewind. I was on your Willy Wonka one. Tiago was on your Batman one.
Yep.
And so we've been.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get Neal on there someday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As you said with a frown in his face.
Neal's lazy, so I don't know if that'll. That'll happen.
No, that'll actually work out for you.
I'm like the last person to show up to our podcast like every...
He's late every time. I'm like 20 minutes early, and he's like 15 minutes late.
That will work out for Mike then.
That's true.
Yeah, that'll be beneficial for you.
True.
Oh, yeah, that's true, because the
early.
LA time, the California time.
Yeah, there you go. All right, so what are we talking about today, guys?
Well, first, Mike, anything you want to else you wanted to say real quick about your podcast? I want to make sure.
Yeah, really quick. It's a really fun thing that we're doing. We actually have a podcast network set up. We're working on actually starting a 3rd podcast pretty soon, but I'm not really going to talk about that yet. But yeah, Remake Rewind. It's kind of like my passion project. We just talk about, like Nick said, movies and TV shows and stuff that have been remade or rebooted, and we don't necessarily talk about which one is better, but just kind of compare them and then just say whether or not the remake or reboot was necessary. And then when you look at Ruin My Childhood, that one's kind of standard. There's a lot of nostalgia podcasts out there, but it's just a different dynamic. My wife and I just kind of go at it. Sometimes we agree, sometimes we don't. Like our Space Jam episode is one of our most popular ones, where I loved it and Katrina hated it. And we kind of argue on the podcast sometimes. It's kind of fun, but yeah, Nick pretty much hit it on the head with the description, so pretty good.
Boom.
Yeah, so it's good to have you on, man. And we've been kind of associated for like over a year now. We came. I think our podcast came out around the same time.
Yeah.
And, within a few days of each other.
Yeah.
So we've always been kind of helping each other out on Twitter and Instagram and bouncing ideas off of each other. So it's been a long time coming.
Yeah, man. Good. Well, you're finally here. Here we go.
It's been in the making for a whole year.
Exactly, in the making.
We had to get it right.
Exactly. All right, cool, man. So we're going to talk about, this was slightly your idea, Mike, not totally, but you were like, hey, let's talk about Marvel to piss Neal off. So that kind of got us thinking, and we're like, yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. We like when he gets really high pitched.
What's
and
funny?
upset.
What's funny is we were talking about this concept earlier, and I started to get upset about Marvel.
We're like, save the venom for the podcast, man.
I don't even know what I was upset about. I just started getting upset. Oh, this is what I said. So we were talking about this is the end of like the current Marvel characters.
Yeah.
Like, they're basically trying to like end that and then move into a new generation of Marvel characters. And I'm like, yeah, they're basically going to reboot Wolverine. They're going to reboot Iron Man. They're going to reboot all of these characters. Captain America. They're just going to fire all the existing actors and then get new young actors that take a quarter the amount of money. And I'm just like, this whole thing is a scam. It's a big old scam.
I don't actually think they're gonna go that route.
I hope they don't.
You don't think so? Because it's all kind of not hearsay, but Kevin Feige who's the guy who runs all of this. He's the producer at Marvel Studios.
He's the godfather.
He's the
of
godfather.
Marvel.
He is the mastermind. He is what, kind of Zack Snyder in a way was trying to do, or even Jeff Johns maybe. But
Jeff Johns is trying to do now and failing.
Yes, exactly. I think that he's kind of moved off from that anyways. But Kevin Feige, he's just done it right. And he's the guy, the mastermind. And he gave a recent interview a month or two ago where he said that Avengers Infinity Wars, which is coming out soon, is going to end. It's going to be, he's like, we're going to give you what superhero movies usually don't give you, a finale. We're going to end it and make way for the new phase 4. And I don't know what that means. Like, they say they have 20 more movies in the works.
Yeah, they've got 20. We know about 9 of them right now, what they're going to be.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I don't know. When you say, Mike, that you think they're not going to just end some of these characters, what do you mean? Like, why do you think they're not going to end them?
I'm a big Marvel guy. I read comic books for a long time. I stopped reading comic books maybe 6-7 years ago just because it got too expensive and I got laid off from a job. That's neither here nor there. But I'm a huge Marvel fan, specifically Spider-Man. I still have thousands and thousands of Spider-Man comic books and action figures and stuff. So I actually follow this stuff pretty closely. And just some of the things that I've seen, I don't think they're going to completely reboot yet. Marvel has always said that they'll James Bond it and they'll get new actors in and potentially not even change who the character is. Now, I think with actors like Robert Downey Jr. being Tony Stark, I don't think they can continue to do that. Like, no one's going to be Iron Man but him.
Right.
Yeah.
But what I think they're going to do specifically with the X-Men, when you look at how popular Deadpool is, and with Deadpool being a person who breaks the fourth wall, they can easily slide him in and just be like, yep, this is a thing, and Ryan Reynolds will just go for it. But there have been a lot of rumors that they're talking to Hugh Jackman. And other actors have said that they've talked to Hugh Jackman, so I think that they might slide it in. And when you have the Infinity Stones, that kind of opens the door to like reality-shattering events where they could really just have like an interdimensional rift, the two different dimensions combine. Yeah. I think that they might slide the two universes together. I could be wrong, but I think that's a possibility.
That would be interesting. Do you think they're going to... I mean, I think they're going to definitely kill off some Avengers, though. Right? I mean,
I think they will. I think they're going to kill off a couple in May with Infinity War, but I think some of them will come back in 2019.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, they're not going to kill off any of the new guys, Black Panther, Spider-Man, obviously. Those guys aren't going anywhere. But, I mean, Chris Evans, his contract is up with Avengers Infinity War as Captain America. I mean, they could kill off the Winter Soldier easily. That's really no big deal.
Yeah, right. Sebastian Stan's not a big draw.
Exactly. I mean, Thor could just be like, fuck Earth. I'm done with this whole thing. I'm going to go, like, join a new planet. And he could just, like, fuck off somewhere in the universe.
He's also king now, so...
Yeah, so...
He's what?
He's king.
Oh, yeah, exactly. So he can't really just be, like, gallivanting off to Earth to mess around with Natalie Portman and stuff like that anymore. Like, he needs to kind of, like, stick with his people and find a new home for them or whatever. Yeah. But... I don't know. I mean, I am ready for the change. I mean, this is something that Neal should be fucking happy about. Like, he's like, I can't stand this shit anymore. He should
Why
be
would
like,
I be? Okay,
they say
first
they're
of
going to
all,
be completely... Hold on.
Tobey Maguire is my Spider-Man. He's my Peter Parker. I don't know who all these imposters are.
Okay.
Andrew Garfield and what's the new guy's name?
Tom Holland.
Tom Holland,
yeah.
No,
Andrew Garfield.
I did watch. God damn it! What's the name of that movie? The Lost City of Z.
Yeah.
And Tom Holland was in that.
Yeah.
I thought he was really good. He played the
actor.
son. Have you seen it?
No.
Total aside.
Totally.
Billy Elliot, I think, at one point
That's
too,
right.
on not on Broadway, but the
Yeah,
equivalent in
West
overseas.
End or whatever in London.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and he also, I mean, he was in that. What was it? Untouchable. What's that movie with Ewan McGregor and the tsunami?
Oh, yeah,
Untouchable or whatever.
Yeah, it's something like that.
Something like that. Yeah, he was really good in that. He was the son.
Okay.
So, and it's the point being, like, you should be happy because they said they're taking this into a completely different direction with these new films. They're doing stuff
but
they've never done before.
There's still going to be 20 more movies.
Yeah, but I mean, you shouldn't get sick of them until like 8 movies in. So you have enough.
All right.
They're doing something. They could Fast and Furious this shit and just keep diarrheaing it out every fucking year. But they're not. They're like, hey, we're gonna change it up because we know you need to change. What,
Fast and the Furious, when they hit number 5, they completely revamped it.
They sure
I know,
did,
and I
yeah.
thought that was very smart. I'm not shitting on Fast and Furious.
I want them to do Fast and
You just said
Furious.
diarrhea
movies.
out.
I'm not
You are
shitting.
shitting.
They're shitting it out.
What I want for the Fast and Furious franchise, I want them to like have some sort of cryogenic like experiment go wrong where like all the actors get frozen in time and then basically recreate Jason X, where these like teenagers come from the
Have 'em in
future,
space.
yeah, and
Dracula
discover
2000.
Vin Diesel frozen
And
in
flies
his
through-
car,
flies
and they're
through
like, "What's a
space."
car?" And they're-
Meet George Jetson.
Dom has his
It'd be like the
giant
Jetsons.
wrench like embedded in his body.
Yes. And he
yes.
just keeps goes to town on these
and he's
fucking
like,
teenagers
he's
with the wrench.
He's driving his like Ferrari like around the spaceship. Like,
That is hilarious.
That actually sounds
they just
amazing.
need to take it to like a ridiculous level. That's what they need to do.
Yeah. Well, I just think it's interesting because Kevin Feige's given this idea that the movies are going to feel different. They're going to be very different. He says we're going in a direction and doing shit that we haven't done before. I mean, there's like...
Well, you just saw
They could just put them all back into the 1700s for all we know, and this shit's going to become fucking retro. We have no idea what's going to happen.
The other thing you got to recognize is that even if this Fox deal doesn't go through, which it looks like it's gonna, like we already know that they've signed the paperwork, but it's still got to go through like the government and get approval and everything. I still think even if it doesn't go through, we're gonna see the characters licensed similar to Sony and Spider-Man sharing Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think regardless, we're gonna have Fantastic Four folded into the universe, and that has some pretty big ramifications because you can bring in a Galactus and a Silver Surfer.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they've already, James Gunn has said that Marvel is tapping him to be a big part of Phase 4.
Oh.
And that space and the cosmic side of Marvel is going to get bigger. So I really think we're going to start seeing like Silver Surfer, Galactus.
Yeah. They're going to
That's
have to
very
play that well, though. Like that's not as easy. You could fuck up space things. Like, these Guardians of the Galaxy was done really well. But when you start to go outside of the grounded Earth reality, people need a lot more in that story to...
Hand-holding.
Yeah, they need hand-holding through it because it's sort of like when you get too big and too fucking out there and cosmic, people they're lost. It's like, do you really even want to watch this shit that doesn't feel grounded?
But they did.
We want
they did
more
very
reality
well.
these days.
Guardians of the Galaxy
I
was
know,
done
that's what I'm saying.
very well. So
That's why it's
yeah.
like if they bring James Gunn into this, that could be...
And I think
that could be good.
Ragnarok was done very well also.
It was.
That wasn't truly grounded with Earth. I mean, it had Earth
It was-
elements.
yeah, it wasn't
It
grounded.
wasn't really grounded in Earth, but that was done very well also. I think there's going to be a transition period between this phase and the next phase where you're still going to see some interaction with character, kind of like you saw in Spider-Man Homecoming. Where you see, Iron Man, there's going to be some leftover Avengers that's going to interact in other films and stuff like that. And then I think they're going to phase them out at a certain point and just truly be a new generation at a certain point, but not right off the bat.
Yeah,
so.
well, the thing that Kevin Feige has going for himself is he's kind of a visionary. He's an overall general strategic thinker. So he thinks big, but he knows how to also surround himself and man up the projects with excellent filmmakers. Really talented guys.
Yeah, the other thing with Kevin Feige is he's not just like this mastermind, but he's also like a fan of movies. So even while he's been in Marvel, he went to Sony when they were working on Amazing Spider-Man 2, and like he saw an early cut of the movie, and he gave them notes like, hey, you should do this, you should cut this, you should cut that.
Interesting.
During the X-Men movies, he actually was working with Fox and saying, hey, this is what I think you guys should do. Even though he was working with a competing company, like he doesn't just want Marvel to do well, he wants other studios to do well, because if other superhero movies are doing well, then everyone's going to flock out to see his movie. So he's kind of
true.
like a guy who just is great for the industry.
Yeah, one thing about those movies too, though, is they do have the Marvel logo show up before them, even though they're 20th Century Fox or whatever, because they're still licensed from Marvel. So I'm sure him being in charge of Marvel Studios, he's like, well, our logo's still on this shit, so let's like not fuck it up, guys. Let's it's gonna reflect badly on us. And people who are more uninformed don't know the difference between those movies studios wise. Not everybody, the layman is not necessarily paying attention to the studio, kind of like what studio's doing what. Like even like Neal hates the Marvel shit, and he keeps lumping X-Men and all this shit into the Marvel like it's all been one studio, but it's completely different.
Right, it's multiple studios.
Yeah. It's an intelligence issue, really, though.
Oh wow.
Fucking with you.
Oh, zing.
Zing.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I my biggest gripe with the Marvel, and not so much DC, but more Marvel, is just the I guess it's just like the yearly. It's starting to feel like 50 Shades of Wolverine or whatever. It's
50
like
Shades of spandex.
Yeah, or not just Wolverine, but like the
50 Shades of Marvel.
And we've had this argument before. We've had this discussion before. I don't particularly think they're bad movies. I just think they're very similar movies that are getting made every year, or series, multiple films every year following these same characters, and you're just like sequelitis, where it's like, guys, it's like too many sequels, man. You gotta like create a story arc, wrap it up, and then we're done.
Which is what they're doing. So that's weird that you're still finding fault with that.
I know. No, I don't know. They're not trustworthy. I don't trust them. I'm sorry. You know what it is? They have not earned my trust. Okay.
Oh, really?
This is
I don't
why.
understand how.
They're like,
because each Marvel movie's been drastically. If you look at the 3 Captain America movies,
yes,
not one of those 3 are similar.
Yes,
not one. Each one's drastically different.
Exactly.
Nick does bring those.
This is
three.
this is a borderline for me
constantly.
because I am on Neal's side, where I do feel like the theater is just drenched.
And I can
with
see why
Marvel
that'd be a
film.
problem if your opinion counted, Tiago, but it doesn't.
Oh, the other thing
did
you have to
everybody-
understand
hold
is
on a
like
second.
I never grew up reading comic books, so I have no like childhood connection. I like watched the animated series as a kid, like X-Men. and
See, I do.
Yeah,
I love
like-
Spider-Man. I
Yeah.
love Spider-Man. I love Captain America. I loved comic books when I was young. But
I didn't
do-
read like any comic
I've
books.
read
I had
a
a couple
lot of
graphic
comics.
novels.
I
but
still
that was
have
it.
trunks and trunks full of comic books.
Yeah.
That's my fucking jam. And Mike's on
If
my
I
side
had
on
that
this.
experience as a child, I would probably be more like, this is
It's
the
true.
greatest thing ever.
I get
Yeah.
it, but you like the cartoons growing up, and that was big. That was a lot of people's turn on to these things. That X-Men cartoon in the
Yeah.
early '90s,
Saturday
was
morning
the-
cartoons, man.
was the shit.
Yeah.
The cereal and the
shit.
Saturday morning.
The Batman animated
Bat-
series was
oh,
amazing.
God,
Batman
that was-
Beyond.
and even Spider-Man back then was
Spider-Man
really
was
good.
great.
Yeah, I wasn't
Yeah.
big on the Superman cartoon that
Yeah.
came out, but anyways,
But no, it's
it was like
Neal's
Batman
right.
had the jaw. Like,
I agree with Neal. I mean, the films are great. Like, I just recently saw Ragnarok, and I thought it was an awesome film. But
Yeah.
I couldn't watch when it just came out because I just watched a Marvel film not far.
Well, I just watched
and it was
Doctor
just,
Strange.
It was like
for the first
yeah, I think it was Doctor Strange, and then I was like, okay, I need a break from Marvel. So I do agree with that. So fuck
yeah.
you, Nick.
All right, whatever.
They're
dude.
solid
I don't know
films.
about
They found like a
Yeah.
formula that works, and they can take like any character and any story and like dump it into this formula and make a quality film. And that's admirable. That's admirable. I do appreciate that. I mean, I don't want to be like a super hater because
It's not a hate.
I do
It's
enjoy
just,
the films.
I need a break.
Yeah, they are
Here's the
better
thing.
than a lot of like these action high budget
Yeah.
films that do come out.
And I
every
shit
year.
on you for this, but I do get what you're saying. Like, I can look at it and honestly see I understand what you're saying. Here's the thing. I don't even think it's a Marvel thing for you. I think it's a CG, big, blockbuster, blow 'em up shit that you get really tired of. You bring up that point about other stuff.
Well, then you also have to look at that it's not just the Marvel movies. Like when you look at DC is pumping out movies and Fox is pumping out movies.
Yeah.
So even though like
Sony.
there is at this point, I think last year you had the 3 Marvel movies. You had, or this year, if you look at this year, we've got 2 X-Men movies, a Deadpool movie, the 3 movies that Marvel are putting out. Like it is a lot.
It is.
It's like what I said at the
It
other
is from a
podcast.
big spectacle.
What I said at the other podcast is like there's so many superheroes coming out that you're taking the super out of the hero.
Yeah.
It's
They
not
don't feel
it's
super
They don't
anymore.
feel
That's
super
that's a
anymore.
good sound bite, but it fucking means almost nothing.
It
Like,
does
that
mean
doesn't-
something.
It means a lot,
It means a
dude.
lot. What the fuck do you mean it doesn't mean
I want to see a
anything?
movie
Doesn't
about
mean
people
anything.
that don't have ability, that are like the opposite.
There's so many of those. Go look at every Oscar-nominated fucking movie this year. There are so many of
They
those.
need to make
goddamn
like a
movies.
team of people that help people that have no
They
ability.
have that. The guys in the chair, like that's what they
I
call
want
it.
to
The guys
see
in the chair.
mystery men. That's what I want to see.
It's just the whole
Right.
point is that it doesn't feel special like when I read the comics. It doesn't feel
There were
special
so many
as much.
comics. There were 30
It's just the
titles like, of the same. Punisher would have like 3 different series
All right,
going
well,
on at
here-
once.
Nick trying to be
here's
logical.
my
Okay.
analogy. Here's like the first time you saw Wolverine, Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, like run, like he's running real fast, and then those claws come out, and then he just jabs both claws into a bad
Yeah.
guy, and he's screaming. He's like,
Yeah.
"Rah, I'm Wolverine!" And you're like, "Oh shit, this is crazy.
I don't think
and
he
then,
ever said I'm Wolverine.
I know, he didn't
he
say
never
I'm
said
It was his
Wolverine.
ad lib.
But
That's
there's
bad-
like that.
that's
There's
bad
like that
writing.
intense moment where you see that for the first time, and you're like, man, this guy, this actor is this character. And then when you see Logan and he does it, you're like, oh, I feel like I've seen this like 10
I didn't
times
feel like
already.
that at all.
I love Logan.
I never got sick of
but,
it.
but it
now-
feels dated.
Okay, I can't use that comparison because Logan was totally felt.
No, Logan. I don't.
Like,
It's a bad comparison, but whatever.
It sure
Wolverine,
is.
I get what you're
Neal,
saying.
It's a bad
there.
comparison.
You see,
You've
Super-
lost your point.
It's
No,
basically
but you see what I'm saying.
I get what you're saying, but
You
I never
feel
got sick
like
of him.
that character,
I never
you're
got
like-
sick of him. I never got sick of him. Every movie he ever came out in, I was like, oh.
He
always
started
felt
to
like he's
feel.
putting
He
everything
started to
into
feel
it.
one note.
He never got lazy though.
He started to feel one note.
Hugh
He didn't,
Jackman is
but
a good actor, and I
Hugh
feel like
Jackman
he
is a
never
good
phoned
actor.
it in. He never phoned it in. It always felt like he's
No.
putting
You're
a
just
lot
like,
into
where
it.
is this character going? Like,
We saw where it went. It's Logan.
no, I know.
They changed it
It's
up.
done.
They
I
did
know.
it. It's
Yeah,
done.
that wasn't a good.
He became
I
an old
can't support
fucking
you
man.
on that one because that wasn't a good.
Old man
Did you
Logan.
get my point?
I get your
though?
point. It's like
I
Superman
do get your
flying, but
point.
now this person's flying. Now this person's
get it.
flying.
It
Now
loses
50
its-
people's
it's not
flying.
special
Now 100
anymore.
I
people's
get
flying.
that. I get that.
Yeah.
I do miss the time period where it was like Christopher Reeve. You'd get a Christopher Reeve Superman movie every few years, and that was like all you got. So you had but one movie.
Yeah, but look how quickly the quality dropped on those movies.
that is true. Different
By the
time
time you
period,
get
but
to
yes.
Superman.
Superman
Canon
3,
films.
that movie's
Canon films.
awful.
I know it's Canon Films.
Canon Films did
Well,
that
yeah,
fourth
the
one.
fourth one. Yeah, they did the fourth one. Third one.
And then you go to the fourth one with Nuclear Man.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Quest for Peace.
With Gene Hackman's
What?
Echo
I
voice.
decided to get rid of the nuclear warheads on the planet Earth, or whatever that fucking line was. Like, dude, too political. Too political.
I will say that all the Bryan Singer X-Men films, I've really enjoyed. I've enjoyed those films far more than any of the Marvel films.
I agree. It's also
Even though they're
That's
technically.
where you don't understand good filmmaking then, because those movies are full of continuity and plot holes that make
well, we know
zero
that.
sense.
That's why they did the Days of Future Past to fill up the
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
fill
and
up
that
the
messed
plot
it up
holes.
even more.
No, they didn't. No, it didn't.
I mean,
Yes, it did. I can tell you how you're wrong, man.
You can,
Please
you
do.
can
Please,
try.
I
It
love
will be falling on deaf ears. But go ahead. No, you know what?
Okay, so I-
okay, go
No,
ahead.
no, no,
Don't
no.
get
Let
me
him
wrong.
do it.
Go. I want to hear.
that's
Don't get me
struggling.
wrong. I loved X-Men First Class. I think it's a fantastic movie.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at it, so X-Men Origins Wolverine takes place in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Has a teenage Emma Frost in it. Where X-Men First Class takes place in the 60s and has a 30-something middle-age Emma Frost.
Oh, I'm
So
aware
right
of all
there
these
alone, that breaks
eras,
it.
Yeah, and Jean Grey.
Right. And then when you also look
Last
at
Stand.
Xavier getting paralyzed in that first movie in the 60s, but in the 80s in X-Men 3, he's walking around as Patrick Stewart.
Yep.
The movies just don't make sense.
And
Those
Jean
movies
Grey's a
only
kid
make sense
in the 80s. And
if you just say, I'm going to watch this one movie and not compare it to anything else.
True.
It's lazy filmmaking.
I don't know that's lazy. Well, first off, Last Stand was the first one to fuck that up, and that was Brett Ratner's fault. But what I want to say is that Days of Future Past, the fucking around with the whole timeline, that was the intention, was like to say, hey, this could be fucked around with. Like, things can be changed
Yeah, but then Bryan
constantly.
Singer fucked it up in the third one with Apocalypse
Yeah.
by having
Well, Apocalypse was
teenage
not as good as
Angel
any of
in
the
the
other
80s.
ones. Yes, Angel in the 80s. No, because that's the whole point, is that the timeline's been fucked up, so everything can change. And if that could be done in that one movie, how many times has the timeline been fucked up off screen? Like, if that's a possible...
I
you know what
get
mean?
that you can shift some events, but having an entirely different the same person born 30 years earlier.
Yeah, that could
That's
happen.
not changing the timeline.
That could
would have to be he is his father instead of his like.
No, well, that could happen.
That doesn't make any sense.
Hey, man, he could have wore condoms a different time. It influenced some truck got knocked over and the
That's
condoms
how
didn't arrive
genetics
to
work, bro.
7-Eleven. He couldn't get the condoms. You
I
get
guess, yeah, I didn't actually think about the continuity at all about these films. I mean, as standalone films, like you said, like I just enjoyed them, like Days of Futures Past, Apocalypse. Like I enjoyed them as just a standalone. I've never actually I don't even connect them in my mind, which is a
really?
weird thing.
Just
I
the first three, but after
Yeah,
that,
maybe
They don't
loosely
make
I
sense
connect
if you
them,
do.
but-
You can't watch them as if they're one big thing because it falls apart if you do.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I do get what
And
you're
then
saying.
just
I
the
do see those.
inclusion of Quicksilver breaks those movies. Like, there's no problem that Quicksilver can't fix in that universe,
Right.
so they have to Professor Xavier him. They always have to take their most powerful character, Xavier, or now Quicksilver, and just put them on the sidelines because they can fix
Everything.
any problem.
Yeah.
Right. No, it's true. It is true. But and I think Apocalypse was easily one of the worst of the new ones.
Really?
Yeah.
I actually really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
movie.
I don't know how you
it was
enjoyed
okay,
that.
but Days of Future
Really?
Past.
You didn't like it?
was
No, I
actually-
don't know how you enjoyed that because you always talk about
hated
CGI.
It was the biggest of the blow them up. Not as
I think I just
smart.
like the concept of apocalypse.
Oh, I thought Days of Future Past was excellent.
Yeah, I thought that
Days
was
of Future Past is by far the best.
Yeah,
one.
I thought
and First
that was the
Class
best
was
one.
a great way to reboot it. I thought First
What's
Class
weird
was
is
excellent.
I'm not a huge fan of like time travel, even though I love Back to the Future. Like I just find that like time travel, it just leaves you open for so much like false. You know what I mean? It's like time travel can solve any problem.
Right.
That's why
Or
I
create
don't
any
like
problem.
the use of time travel, or create massive.
But what I
problems.
liked about it was
Like,
Days of Future Past was not straight
we've
up
had-
just time travel. It was actually just putting his consciousness into an earlier version of himself.
which is even more complicated.
That was cool. No, that
I
was
know,
a cool
it
way
was-
to do it. They
it
could have
was
fucked
cool,
around.
but it was still like overly complex.
They could have gone down wormholes naked and like done a whole Terminator thing, but that would have been lazy.
Terminator doesn't even make sense. We've had this
I
conversation.
love
We're
Terminator.
blaming
It
on
doesn't matter.
Skynet.
How did the father ascend his...
All right.
How did the son send the father back when he wasn't even born because the father wasn't there to bang his mom?
You will break
It
your
doesn't
fucking
even-
mind if you
no
think of
one
this
can.
thing.
It doesn't even make sense.
So there's a theory with Terminator that every time they send somebody back in time, that it's a different John Connor that's dealing with it in the future. And that's just the fact that Sarah Connor raised the child that they become such a great leader.
Oh.
I
So
like that.
the original may not have been the father of John Connor.
So yeah, Edward Furlong was not the original John Connor, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a. There's so many theories out there though.
Well, it's the only way you can explain it because it
you could
doesn't
ask
make
James Cameron
sense.
and be like, no, that doesn't make it. No, it's just a fun movie. Fuck you. Like James Cameron's like, fucking whatever.
There's
Or-
a theory out there that James Cameron
Is
did
the
this
father-
film 7 times, and on the 8th time he got it right.
Yeah.
And that's how
There
he
you
won.
go. There's a theory. But back to the Marvel films. Anyways, So if we've got 20 movies on the docket, if we're looking at 20 movies coming out that they've already got planned and everything like that, definitely X-Men will probably be part of that, right? I know you think that they're going to just...
I would think so.
You think they're going to fit Deadpool into the universe? I mean, technically he's in the X-Men universe, but I don't think he could ever really cross over and be blended into these films.
I think he will.
I hope they don't do that, though, is what I'm trying to say. Is it actually fucks up the X-Men movies. The X-Men movies are very serious movies, and Deadpool is too comical. And if you put those in the same universe, it's going to water down or fuck up the X-Men universe.
Well, it's supposed to be in the same universe. I think you can put it in specifically in the Marvel with like some reality bending things. And Marvel is a more humorous universe, so I think you can tie that together a little easier in the MCU.
Yeah.
And it can almost be like I can't think of his name from DC. It's like Mr. Mystic. I can't remember his name.
Mr. Sinister?
Or like Q from Star Trek: The Next Generation. just having this, like,
Missile or whatever. All those,
Yeah.
those consonants. There's Missile-plistic or something like that. Yeah.
Yes, that guy.
Mixoplex.
I think you can have Deadpool be almost like a Q from Star
Yeah.
Trek: The Next Generation character who just kind of knows what's going on, but nobody else really knows.
Yeah.
I think you can play with it. I think Kevin Feige can find a way to make it work.
The one thing Kevin Feige does not do though with these Marvel movies is he does not fuck around with the overall tone and look and the way in which which is what Neal kind of says. They all kind of feel the same because they're in the same universe. They're supposed to feel the same. But when Edgar Wright went too far into left field with Ant-Man, they let him go. So I don't think they actually. And Deadpool's too different from those other movies.
Well, the other thing is Ant-Man was in development years before Iron Man was.
Yeah.
And so Edgar Wright is an auteur. Like, he's my favorite director, my favorite writer. He's not going to compromise his vision because, like, Marvel dragged their heels about getting that movie done.
Right.
Yeah.
It's true. And that's why they said he left for creative differences or whatever.
Yeah.
Which I'm glad because
I'm glad he did.
Yeah, me too. I don't want to see him. I'd rather him do Baby Driver than change his directorial, his directing style.
Yeah.
Because you expect something from an Edgar Wright film, and you don't expect it to be like a Marvel film. So, and that's my only thing. Like Thor Ragnarok, they were able to let that guy kind of put his directing style on it, but they never let him stray too far away from the look and the feel of Marvel. And Deadpool is just too different. I can't see them fitting that in. I don't know. Maybe they will. Maybe the next phase will be like we're changing the tone of all these movies, and we're gonna figure out.
Yeah, I
how
think
to
they're going to
work.
have to a little bit.
Yeah.
You did see the...
Like, I have some theories that the world's going to get a little bit darker, and I think, like, this is just a theory I have. I haven't seen this online anywhere or anything, but I think they're going to borrow from the current comic books. I really do think that Tony Stark's going to die.
Okay.
But what I think they're gonna do is they're gonna save his like consciousness into like a Jarvis like AI system, and I think that will be a way that they can keep Tony Stark coming back or Robert Downey Jr. coming back every once in a while.
Yeah.
Where he can be kind of like a
mentor,
an AI augmented reality kind of
Black Mirror
to the
Obi-Wan.
new Avengers.
Black Mirror Obi-Wan.
Exactly.
Jesus.
Did you see the trailer for New Mutants?
New Mutants. That's interesting.
That looks terrible.
You think it looks terrible?
The horror?
Because it's the first horror film,
the first
superhero
horror
film
film,
that
yeah.
like in the superhero genre. And I think that's interesting looking. So I want to see what
I
they
think
do.
it's interesting, but I don't think this movie looks good.
Yeah, I want to see it though. Like again,
The idea is interesting.
Yeah, the idea
Yeah,
is interesting. I actually, and this is, I've said this a million times. The trailers can always fuck with you. Great trailer for a terrible movie. You know, you can get a great trailer for a movie that ends up being shit, or you can get a terrible trailer for a movie that ends up being pretty good. So New Mutants, I like
like Ghostbusters.
Oh my god! So you get to. So I'm interested to see what New Mutants does.
That's what
I
I'm
like
interested
the
about.
idea, and I think it does look good. But again, I need to see. Like the Venom trailer just dropped, and I'm like, I don't know. A lot of people are underwhelmed by it, and I'm like, it's a teaser trailer. I think it looks like it could be good, but they don't show you enough to really. And there's a lot of generic shit in the trailer. But we got to see. We got to see
That
more.
could be a movie about anything.
Yeah, exactly. We need to see more. We didn't see him as Venom. I like how he starts.
I'm ready for it.
I know. I love
Screw you
Venom.
guys.
All right, eat a dick. I'm just saying, Venom does as a general movie. I think it looks good. The trailer was not like a movie, like
It's
a
too
trailer
soon to
done
show.
well.
Yeah, it's just too soon.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's too soon.
Exactly.
You don't
When
want to
is it
show
coming
too
out?
much in
It's
front.
coming out at the end of the year?
October, right?
Yeah.
October, November.
Their next trailer, they're gonna show a little bit more of Venom.
Exactly. I want to see Carnage.
I think all they should have done was have him in like a hallway, standing up and like kind of like turning a shoulder, and you just really see the eyes or the spider logo. Like, I know CG is expensive, but that's something that they could have whipped out. If they just had it in a dark hallway, they didn't need to have any real detail. They should have shown something.
Yeah,
But this-
they were
but
trying to
this
show
trailer
you plot
is-
points, but that weren't adding up to any plot.
This trailer was not about the symbiote. This trailer was about Tom Hardy as Brock.
Yeah.
So this wasn't about. So the next trailer is about his connection to the symbiote.
Yeah, but they had like the scene with
So-
him on the motorcycle and the cars blowing up, and I was just like, "What is this all? Like, what are you trying to communicate?" And they didn't.
But
Have
that-
they didn't have a central theme. There was no central theme throughout the trailer.
Yeah,
So it looks fine.
Well,
But
there was the central theme was about.
Did you not watch it?
Yeah,
No.
he haven't
Neal
seen it.
hasn't even
Oh my
seen it.
God.
He's over here with like
Neal,
a
come
smirk on his face.
So the central theme is what made him go dark.
My Venom is from Spider-Man 3.
No,
Are
Topher
you
Grace.
kidding me? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he should have been nominated for an Oscar like Heath Ledger as a Joker. Absolutely, you're right.
yeah.
Oh my god.
No,
What
that-
happened to that movie? Sam Raimi.
Oh my God.
If I ever meet Sam Raimi, I'm gonna ask him. I'm gonna be like, dude, what happened?
Never pass him the ball, okay? Because he ain't gonna dunk it. That was a dropped ball. That was a dropped ball. But
There's so many
blocked.
things that are like interesting
Well,
about that
Sam
movie.
Raimi
but,
didn't want to use that character. Avi Arad
Yeah.
forced him to use him.
that's what I heard.
Oh,
yeah.
really?
Yeah, that's what I
Because
heard.
I like in my like when I look at all of these films, like for some reason I keep going back to Spider-Man 2.
Best one. One
Yeah,
of the, one of the
like
best
out of
movies.
like all the
You wanna hear
superhero
something
films, I think
controversial?
that film is so good for some
Yes,
reason.
I want to hear something controversial.
So I'm the biggest Spider-Man fan out there, and at the time when Spider-Man 2 came out, I worked at the movie theater, and I probably watched that every time I was on a break or a lunch. I watched that movie, and I love that train scene.
Yep.
But I don't think that's the best Spider-Man movie. Like, everyone says Spider-Man 3 is emo Spider-Man, but in Spider-Man 2, he literally lost his powers because he was sad.
I think that was in the comic
I
books.
don't think it's the best Spider-Man movie. I think Amazing Spider-Man is actually better than Spider-Man 2.
Wow, that's
All right, here's what I'm gonna say. Amazing Spider-Man. I think Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone were great.
I
in the
did not.
movie.
Yeah,
I think it was a
thought,
great
I
cast.
thought they were good. I
actually
yeah.
thought the villain, because it's hard to get a villain right in these movies.
Yeah.
And I think the ones they did it best with were Spider-Man 2 and Amazing
Alfred
Spider-Man.
Molina was
Alfred Molina as Doc Ock was really
fantastic.
good, but I thought Rise of Fonz or whatever, who did
But that wasn't
Lizard.
Doc Ock, though.
I wasn't too
That
dissimilar.
really wasn't
though.
Doc Ock. If you look at what
he had
Doc
a more
Ock is
layered
from the source
character.
material, he's a dickhead.
I know,
and
that's
this
what
was
was
a
great. They
likable
gave him more
man.
layer. No, he was more layered, and his whole point was that these things had basically taken control. I thought that was way more interesting of a character than they would have
I
done
like
from the
that
comic
aspect,
books.
but you can't change what the basic character is even before he had the accident, nobody liked Doc Ock. He was an arrogant prick. He thought he was better than everybody.
Yeah.
And then when he became even more special, he used it for personal gain. And the core of what Doc Ock is, Otto Octavius, was not there. And so
I
maybe
thought
that's
it was
just
more
me being
interesting,
nitpicky.
I thought he was more interesting than any, because I was a big Spider-Man fan as well, and I thought his character in the movie, Doc Ock was never one of the most interesting.
I don't think they could have done
in the
it
Spider-Man comics. Like, honestly, I don't think anybody would
You're
say
wrong.
that. No, I'm
You're
right.
wrong.
Well, that's the thing. I'm usually right, and in this case, I am as well. But what I'm trying to say is, what my point being, Amazing Spider-Man, Lizard, I thought they did fantastic. I thought Rise of Fonz was great in that role. So Amazing Spider-Man, I do agree with you, was really good. But there's flaws in that film as well. We cannot sit here and say that was a
there's definitely
spectacular
flaws,
film.
and we discussed them in Remake Rewind, the flaws of that movie. Like, there's definitely some huge problems. I think Spider-Man 2's been put on a pedestal, and I don't think it quite deserves it.
You know why I think it is?
So many movies have come out since
that
are way better.
Spider-Man 2, I had more of an emotional connection. I was impacted emotionally more by that movie than most superhero movies.
I understand that.
And that's how I feel.
Right.
I think Spider-Man 2 delivered on that, and I identified with him as a guy who basically his life is going to fucking shit, and he's trying to be a good guy, and he just can't fucking get it together. And I thought they displayed that very well.
The shared love between him and the people.
And I love that Mary, and I love how
it was
the
great.
reveal of Mary Jane finally knowing it's him. Like, just all that stuff I just really connected with.
Yeah.
I do agree. It's very hard to say that Spider-Man 2 was better or The Amazing Spider-Man was better. It's a difficult line.
In a weird
because
way,
I
like
like the emotional connection that you had in Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
I really like
I
that.
agree.
It
but
may have been like the first time that like the audience like had this emotional attachment to a film version of a comic book character. I mean, there were several adaptations that had come out prior to that of different comic book characters from DC or Marvel. But like this film, like really cemented. Like when I watched the first Spider-Man, I was like, wow, that was really good. Like,
Yeah.
And I never thought Tobey Maguire would be a good Spider-Man, or like I didn't know what to expect when I saw the film, and I liked it. And then when I saw Spider-Man 2, it took everything to the next level in a good way.
Yeah.
Like the bad guy was more layered and more complex and more you were sympathetic, yet he was scary, and like he was like you feared you feared for Spider-Man or for Peter Parker. But it I don't know, maybe it was because it was the first time that happened. Yes, there's probably films that have been made later that are better films in general, but like that was like that was like the first.
Yeah.
I guess of like that kind of like broke many boundaries, I think, for the audience anyway. Maybe not for critics, but for the audience.
Goodfellas might be a more technically excellent movie than The Godfather, but it does not necessarily mean that Goodfellas is a better movie than Godfather. So I get what you're saying. It's like sometimes
I think it is.
All right now. Just calm down.
Welcome
Mike.
to the Debate It All podcast.
I'll be honest, I don't know which one I'd pick. I'd probably pick The Godfather. Goodfellas is good though. I love that movie as well. But that's totally off topic. And we're actually off topic with the Spider-Man thing a little bit too, because we're talking about Phase 4, what we're going to see. A Spider-Man is definitely going to be part of Phase 4.
Spider-Man.
The other thing that's going to be interesting about Phase 4 is we've got Captain Marvel is taking place in the 90s and introducing the Skrulls.
Yep.
So we also have to deal with the fact that a lot of the heroes we've already fallen in love with could possibly be in Skrulls and not who we thought they were.
Oh, shit.
So that's an interesting dynamic that can be coming up.
That would fuck me up. Yeah, I mean, that's it. Yeah, Brie Larson's playing Captain Marvel. So that should be really interesting.
Right. Like, we could find out that Tony Stark was a Skrull this whole time, or even just part of the time. Like,
you know how pissed
Tony
off
Stark
people will be? Even if they executed that well, people will be so fucking pissed off if that's the case.
Right.
I would even be pissed off. Just at the concept of it, I'd be like, no, because then every time you watch those movies later on, you're not. It's like watching Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me, and finding out that what's-her-face was a fembot the entire time. You're like, what?
Vanessa.
Yeah, Vanessa. You watch the first one, and you're like, wait, she's a fembot? It also doesn't make sense. But I don't want to know that. I don't want to then watch the earlier movies later on and have that in my head. That'll fuck me up.
Right.
So I hope they don't do that.
But I think that's coming.
You could do that with Hawkeye.
I
mean, do it with Hawkeye. Fuck it. Like, use Hawkeye. Don't do it with Tony Stark.
Or
Happy Hogan. Don't do it with Happy either. I know he's not a Avenger.
I think what's going to happen is they can set... Being a Skrull doesn't necessarily make you a bad guy or an evil person, and it doesn't take away from the deeds. I don't think you can have Captain America, Thor, Spider-Man be Skrulls because they have superpowers. Mm-hmm. But I think you could have like a Pepper Potts, a Happy Hogan, a Black Widow. Some of those characters can be, and I think it would make sense for Black Widow. And I think they've announced that they're working on a Black Widow script
movie.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if they work in the fact that she was a Skrull.
That'd be interesting. I mean, I guess I'm okay with that. There's just certain ones
Because
specifically.
she's a spy, and Skrulls are spies.
Yeah, I think Iron Man and Captain America are two of the ones that would piss me off if I found that. So.
I don't think they're gonna do that.
Yeah, and they're not gonna do it with the Hulk either.
Especially
Bruce
with
Banner won't be.
Well, yeah, the Hulk can't be one,
Yeah.
just because of the whole. He has powers. If they have powers, they're probably not a Skrull.
Right.
Yeah.
Although there's the Super Skrull who has like all powers, but we're gonna sweep that under the rug for now.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways, I mean, we'll have to see. And this is a little off topic, but I really want to fucking see what DC. I need DC to get their shit together. It's driving me nuts. This Joaquin Phoenix Joker thing, though, it's interesting. I think they maybe need to get away from the connected universe and just concentrate on individual films and just make a good fucking movie. Like, stop trying to make it a big universe.
Explain that? That doesn't make any sense to have a completely different Joker.
Scrap it. Scrap the connected
they
universe.
need to scrap it.
Scrap the. Obviously, they have Wonder Woman 2 coming out. They have Aquaman coming out. But other than that, start doing these one-offs that aren't connected. Do Batman Solo,
like
the Batman. Do the Joker 80s gangster film, and just keep doing solo films. Stop trying to be Marvel, and I think they could do it if they just get out of the idea that it has to be sequels, that it have to be connected things, and just do a fucking good movie. Bring Martin Scorsese in to do a good movie.
But do a good job.
Yes,
but they can't.
That's what I'm saying.
I think they need to get rid of Zack Snyder.
Well, they did.
Right
He's Zack Snyder.
Yeah, that's right. He's
out.
gone.
Well, no, Zack Snyder's possibly coming back for Man of Steel 2. Like, there's a lot of talks of Zack Snyder still being around.
But they did say he stepped away more than just from the last film. He is no longer an architect in the DC universe.
Oh, I hope so.
I know, and it sucks, but
I actually love Zack Snyder.
I know
he's a great
his earlier
filmmaker.
films. I like.
He's a great filmmaker. It's just that this whole
like Dawn of the Dead is one of the greatest zombie movies ever made. That was his first
remake.
movie.
Yeah,
he did a remake.
Yeah.
And it's amazing.
It is a good movie. I actually
Watchmen,
really enjoyed
amazing.
that one. Yeah.
This is just not his genre. I don't think.
I don't know.
It's just
but
not
Watchmen.
working.
I liked a lot. I know that's a controversial thing, but Neal and I both.
But it was so
thought
different than
Watchmen
what
was
he's
great.
I
with
love
this whole
Watchmen.
DC thing.
I know. I don't know.
I respect
Yeah,
Watchmen, but
I don't know. I was watching Batman vs Superman again the other day, and what's funny is I actually really liked the first third of that film, the first act. I really liked the first act of that film, but then I felt like the last half fell apart. We talked about this before, but he's really good at some things,
Yeah.
and then somehow it's wrapping up.
Yep.
He just goes on, and then the movie kind of ends, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
They just
But
chose the most controversial timeline to make films of. I mean,
I don't know.
Superman's death. Why would you do that?
I don't know.
That was one of the most hated things that ever happened in comics.
Yeah.
Why would you use that?
It grabbed my fucking attention. I had that comic back in the day. In '93, I had.
By the way,
That's why they did
Superman.
Superman, I have that.
I just
still
want
have
to.
it.
I saw this on YouTube, and I agree. Superman's death killed death in comic books.
I don't even know what that means.
Yeah.
He understood. He understood what that means.
Yeah, because he's
Mike
actually
understood.
being nice. He's being a nice.
No,
guest,
he
but
understands what that means.
All right.
No, I get what he's
Yeah,
saying.
All right. All right.
Because when Superman died, and then it was very obvious they were going to bring him back right away.
Yeah. Well, it took a while.
And they teased having who's the new Superman. They had Steel, and then they had a couple
Superboy.
different people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Cyborg.
he came back.
Yeah. Everybody now can come back from the dead.
But I liked it. I liked that series. That was actually the last series of comics that I really actually enjoyed, and I kind of got away from comics after that. But
what was great when Superman did come back, I know it's off topic, it was they kind of rebooted the universe a little bit, and they kind of depowered him a little bit, and they took away the he can do everything.
And they gave him long hair.
It's not necessarily a bad
And they
thing.
did give him long hair. I mean, that's
that was one of them.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
The mullet.
Yeah, the mullet. It was basically a mullet. Yeah. No, but all I'm saying is the Zack Snyder stuff is he can do certain things well. That's that Batman scene in Batman vs Superman where he's going through and each floor of that building and just fucking taking everybody out.
warehouse scene?
Yeah, that warehouse scene
That
was
fight
excellent. I looked at that and I was like, yes, I want a Batman solo movie with Ben Affleck. I think there are certain things he does really well, but as an overall whole, it's a mess, and I don't get why there's not enough.
He's kind of turned into Michael Bay.
Yeah.
Here's my question.
Michael Bay can make some set pieces, but as a whole, the movie's not great.
Yep.
Although, his non-Transformers movies, I actually really like.
Yeah, I mean, even if you go back to the '90s, I loved Bad Boys. And
Here's my question
The
to you
Rock.
guys: do you feel that in the DC universe, there's just too many elements that are just button heads that are not working, like Zack Snyder? I don't think.
I think the problem with the DC universe is they telegraphed some stuff, and then when people figured it out, they tried to backpedal. It was pretty obvious that the Jared Leto Joker was a former Robin.
Yeah.
And then the internet went off on it, and they're like, "Oh yeah, this is awesome." And then DC is like, well, we want it to be a surprise, so that's not what we're gonna do now,
Right.
kind of thing. It's like, don't give us these little clues and then be mad that we figured it out.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I really like this idea of doing the one-off films, the solo films. I really think that's great, and I think if they get that down and they do a number of those, and if they want to then go back to a connected universe, once they have more experience, it's sort of like they're biting off more than they should. They haven't figured it out.
Yeah, they have to put in the work.
Yeah, Marvel didn't just fucking jump into this thing with this whole plan of a big universe. They started off small. They did Iron Man, and and Hulk. Yeah,
Hulk, yeah.
Exactly, the Hulk films. They weren't even planning a big Avengers connected universe thing. It was a joke at the end of Iron Man, where it's like, I want to talk to you about the Avengers initiative. That was not really. It was a kind of like, hey, a wink, wink kind of a thing. And then they did Iron Man 2, and they kind of just started to expand it from there. But they started small. DC doesn't know what it's doing. It hasn't figured it out.
They're just trying to straight into Avengers.
Yeah, exactly. And they need to knock it the fuck off. They need to just go do solo films with great filmmakers and get those down. What?
The Batman, the Batman trilogy, the Dark Knight trilogy is I consider those films like in the top 5 of all of
movies.
These superhero films.
I agree,
Yeah.
totally. But they're completely disconnected from this universe. They're not part of this.
That's true.
And that wasn't DC. That was
like
Christopher Nolan and his
Christopher
team.
Nolan just doing his own thing.
Yeah, that wasn't
totally
DC with a
aside.
master plan.
Wasn't that based off one of the Batman timelines or something, or like an alternate Batman?
they all
universe?
borrow from the comic books.
Yeah, but it was like a rebooted Batman.
They were, yeah. Batman Begins.
This is how much I know.
You know nothing.
I feel like I read that somewhere because I was like, but this doesn't make sense. This isn't like Michael Keaton Batman. This is like.
I remember when people were trying to connect it. They were trying to say that at the end of the Batman film where he's flying the ship out.
Dark Knight Rises.
Did you see Superman fly in and grab him? What the fuck? Like, no.
That'd be awesome if Christopher Nolan hid
never
something and no
happened.
one discovered it until now. Like that would be amazing.
funny.
That would be.
That never happened.
I mean, he was a producer and a kind of consultant on Man of Steel, but I don't think he had enough hands in it to really be able to steer those movies properly.
There was a lot of producers.
Well, the other thing is, just to show how unorganized DC was, at one point there was going to be a concurrent Justice League movie with Armie Hammer as Batman.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
At the same time, so that was supposed to come out in like 2009, 2010, between Dark Knight.
Was that
and
the
Dark
Justice
Knight
Dark?
Rises.
Was that when they were doing the Dark Justice or Justice Dark or whatever it was?
Well, they were just doing Justice League, and it was going to be directed by and written by George Miller, who does Mad Max.
Yep. You're right. I remember.
It could have been really interesting, but they so wanted to have a Justice League movie and beat Marvel that they almost did that, and then there was just some issues with it, and they ended up scrapping it. But it's like they don't want to put in the work.
Yep.
They don't want to take their time and build it.
Yep. They want
and that's why
instant
they're failing.
gratification. Instant box office gratification.
This is what I keep saying. I want to see them go rated R. I want to see Nightwing go rated R.
Yep.
I want to
No
see
Dylan O'Brien or whatever.
No
his name
Dylan
is.
O'Brien.
Stop, guys! Don't ruin my hope. No,
Somebody listens to the show.
I want Nightwing to be directed by Mel Gibson. I want Teen Titans to be awesome.
Please don't do that.
I love Teen Titans.
I know you do.
I think they have the potential to be. I want them to do. Here's the rated R films that they can do. They can do The Joker.
Yeah.
They can do Nightwing. They can take from Teen Titans. They can do Raven, and that can start a whole new thing for them if they do it right.
Yeah, I know. It's the whole thing. If they do it right, everything has sounded great up until it comes out, and it's not great.
Yeah.
They just need
do a
like
solo
a series
fucking
of
film.
hits.
But it'll be a
They
new
need like
platform.
2 or 3 hits, one
Yep.
after another, that are
Yeah.
like critically and commercially successful, and they're golden.
Yep.
They
I would
can-
love to see the story of the Red Hood Nightwing.
Yeah. And here's the thing, too. If they could do solo films, they don't need to look the same
They don't.
one to the next. And that will give individual filmmakers freedom to just fucking create a movie.
Yeah.
They don't have to be like, well, it's got to look like this other one, so don't stray
Gotta
too
look like
far.
Zack Snyder's film.
Yeah. It's like, dude, just fucking go create a film. Give an excellent filmmaker a chance to, like, give fucking Alfonso Cuarón or something a fucking license to just go do a goddamn character. You know, give Edgar Wright a chance to do something in an Edgar Wright style movie.
Didn't Edgar Wright do
Scott Pilgrim.
Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah.
I fucking love that movie.
Yep.
That's one of the greatest, if you want to call it a comic book movie. I mean, it's a graphic novel,
so
but like
good.
that's such a good fucking movie.
It is a great
But
movie.
like, give him
Every time you watch it, you notice something different.
Yes, there's
Yeah.
so many
Yeah.
details in that movie because that guy thinks out every frame of his films, and he's excellent. He's not lazy. He's like really not a lazy
Yeah.
filmmaker. Give that guy the keys to a character. Give him a say. Take any character from the DC universe, Edgar. You have open reign. Do anything you want with it. and you will come out with an excellent fucking movie.
Yeah.
They need to take these chances, and somebody needs to have the balls. You know, DC's, I guess, owned by Warner Brothers. It's owned by Time Warner, which is owned by fucking this one. So maybe they're having to answer to some big executive, big wig kind of guy. But somebody needs to have the balls to step in and just handle it.
Yeah.
Anyways.
I feel like people are just saying, like, oh, it's Batman, Superman. People will watch it.
Yeah,
it's not working out.
Marvel did it with all D-list characters. Come on.
I know.
Who knew Iron Man? Nobody really knew much about Iron Man before that came out. Now he's
the
like
Avengers
an
were
A-list
not
character.
popular until
Yeah. There were no Justice League.
So I don't know.
Anyways, so we'll have to see. I mean, that's DC, Marvel. I'm really interested to see what they end up doing. I mean, I don't think we'll really get an idea of it until we see Infinity Wars.
Yeah.
Infinity Wars is going to answer a lot of questions.
Yeah.
I still also think that we're going to end up with another Spider-Man in the universe. I think we're going to get Miles Morales.
You think so?
In either
Black
Spider-Man Homecoming 2 or Spider-Man Homecoming 3.
Yeah.
Because they've already teed it up with Donald Glover's character.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't
the
Miles
uncle.
Morales, but that was the person they wanted to play.
That's his uncle. That's Miles Morales' uncle.
No way, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I fucking totally didn't know that.
Aaron Davis is Miles Morales' uncle.
Oh, shit.
He's also the Prowler.
Oh, I had no idea. Wow, I totally missed that.
Yeah,
I missed that.
Yeah, and then he also mentions, like, I've got my little nephew who lives out here.
Yeah.
There's.
I don't want
think
these
we're
guns
gonna
on the
have
street
him. I
either.
think we're going to use the Sony animated movie that comes out next Christmas to kind of introduce the world to Miles Morales, just so they kind of know who it is. And then I think we're going to fold him into the MCU as well.
Okay, yeah, I mean,
so
maybe.
Quick question.
Maybe that could be really interesting.
So one big conversation that's going on online is about Michael Bay doing Lobo.
Oh, Lobo. I loved Lobo.
Whatever.
I know, it's Michael Bay. It's Michael Bay, but I love
very
Lobo, and this is a
interesting.
very Deadpool-esque character. Yeah. He's fucking wild. He's crazy. He doesn't give a fuck. He's on a motorcycle that flies through fucking space or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I love that character. I love those comic books growing up. Now it's Michael Bay.
It's kind of like Deadpool and Riddick combined.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Rob
Zombie.
Zombie.
Look, I knew it.
Now I'm interested.
No.
Yeah.
Now I'm
And then
interested.
add in like a Rob Zombie kind of a look, and that's what he looks like too.
But it's Michael Bay.
But it's Michael Bay,
Michael
so it's
Bay,
kind of like shit, man. Like fucking DC, man. Get. Anyways,
I feel like it'll be like a comic book film with a lot of Victoria's Secret models running around, and then you'll know.
and explode Transformers crossover.
They should do a Batman Beyond. I would like to see that.
I mean, that'd be interesting. I don't know. Maybe. I guess it could be interesting if they do it right. But
Same thing with Batman Beyond, though. You need to build the universe. You need to have a solid foundation of Batman.
The dog.
And then
because he's an old
go
guy
from
in that
there.
movie. He's like in his 70s.
You can't just rush to it.
Yeah.
Oh, of course not. But it could be done.
Not with DC.
Not with DC. All right. Well, this was an interesting talk. It went many ways, many forms, and many different topics outside of what we actually talked
Oh, and Neal has something to say.
Hold on.
This is what happens at the end of every podcast. I'm just curious. Do you think, because there's just some people out there who think that Wonder Woman should have been nominated for something, like Best Picture or whatever at the Oscars.
They didn't get a single nomination.
Yeah, it didn't get any nominations, which I don't know. It doesn't surprise me at all. I'm not a big Oscar fan, but after seeing Wonder Woman, I didn't think. I thought it was a solid film, but I definitely didn't think it should get nominated for anything special.
I think maybe for costume design, it could have got something.
Maybe.
I liked that movie. I enjoyed it. But the last 20, 30 minutes of that movie was a mess. Like when they finally confronted Ares.
I agree.
He was just like every video game character power. The CG got really bad. That weird scene where she's running through all the soldiers. It really fell apart in the last act. So I don't think it deserved like a Best Picture or anything like that. But I think, like costume design, I think her costume was fantastic.
Yeah.
And the Amazons looked amazing.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, we have an article about it on our site on the gettothemovies.com where we're talking about the Oscar nominations, and we do dive into that whole kind of controversy or whatever you want to call it.
I don't think it's a
people comparing
controversy.
it. People
it's just
saying,
the general public having a voice.
Well, people are saying, "Hey, why did Suicide Squad win an Oscar for makeup or whatever it was, and Wonder Woman didn't get a single nomination?" And I just said,
"Yeah, that was lame."
Yeah, but
the Croc guy did not look good.
I thought he looked good, but here's what I say: if you look at again, you're going to disagree with me based off what you just said, but I think if you look at Suicide Squad, the makeup was on point. I thought there was a lot of effort. You could see the work put in, whereas Wonder Woman looked good. But it did not look like out of the fucking ordinary in a different realm. I don't think so.
Right. Other than her costume and the Amazons,
I thought they looked good.
Everybody else were just Nazi uniforms, which
Yeah,
have been done over and over.
It was
and over
nothing
and over
unique.
Again.
So I'm like, what category do you want to give it to? Like, you're just saying, I love the movie, I have an emotional connection. I'm like, I love lots of fucking movies and some movies, but I don't think they should be. I know what the Oscars are about, and they're not about that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Anyways.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. I'm excited
Of
to see what's
course you're
going to happen.
excited.
Yeah, I am. I'm super excited. That's what I do.
I'm
excited to see what happens with
It's
Marvel.
awkward.
excited.
I'm hopefully
Stop
so
it.
excited.
Stop.
I'm
Stop being-
hopefully excited to see something different happen with DC, and I am interested to see if Image Comics are going to start to do something once they come out with Spawn.
Spawn, yeah.
Well, there's going to be the Millerverse on Netflix.
What's the Millerverse? I missed that. What is that?
So Mark Millar,
Yeah.
he did like Nemesis, not Invincible. He does a bunch of he's like an independent. He's amazing. Mark Millar. He signed a deal with Netflix to have his movies. He's the guy who did Kingsman.
Matthew
So
Vaughn.
they're going to be basically not
Or the-
making a
the
Kingsman
actual
universe, but
graphic
Netflix
novel?
is going to be making a Mark Millar verse.
Oh, wow, that should be interesting.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
much more grounded, gritty comic books. Like there's people with superpowers, but it takes place in like really gritty universes. Like they're fantastic.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm excited about that.
So
I'm excited.
let's see.
I'm excited.
Let's see what.
I'm excited.
I'm so
Well,
excited.
no, I can't say it.
I just can't hide it.
Wait,
I'm
one
about
more
to lose
thing. One more
control,
thing.
and I think I like it.
I know. Tiago wants to do stuff, but
No,
have you watched Altered Carbon at all? This
God
total
damn
aside.
it, that has to do with this episode?
No, okay, deal. That has nothing to do with this episode. Let's
I
not
mean,
go
a
into
little
another
bit.
loop.
I'm just curious.
What did we say? Get to the hey squirrel. Like this is just so fucking ADD.
Yeah,
Not really, because
Altered, fine. Say something.
we're talking about Netflix.
What? Come on.
no, this is totally beyond.
We're
I
talking
should be
about-
able to pull
We're
any
talking about
Netflix
filmmaking.
card
Let's talk
out.
about Once Upon a Time in the West.
No,
All right,
I need
all
to-
right.
All right, say what you
So
want.
We could talk about it off air.
We'll do it off air.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll edit
well,
this out.
all right. Well,
Well, I'm not gonna edit it out.
You're not gonna do that.
That's true.
all right. So, Mike, give us another boost for your podcast.
Yeah. So once again, you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at MDX Pods. We do like little daily updates, share news and stuff like that. And then we have 2 podcasts that are on Google Play, Apple Podcasts, on Stitcher, and then of course our website MDX Pods. That's Remake, Rewind, and Ruin My Childhood. Just follow us on Instagram and Twitter at MDX Pods. That's the easiest way to get all of our info. Is just checking out those 2 social media sites.
Yeah. Good, and they're great
Awesome.
shows. They're
They are,
way
yep.
more research than us. We scream and yell. And they actually have a calm, they seem to know what they're talking about, whereas we just fucking yell over each other until something comes out of the wash.
True.
So,
That's true. Nick usually says things that aren't true all the time.
Oh, whatever.
And like, if you want little teases, if you go to the Instagram, pretty much every episode we do of Remake Rewind, we'll do like a little 30-second to minute teasers, so you can kind of see what we're about. We'll put like the highlights in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, check it out if you like. If you just watch the videos on Instagram, if you like it, then yeah, check us
Yeah,
out.
they're funny too. So you got the humor. the
Boom.
movie
I'm
stuff.
excited, especially the one
Awesome.
about Batman. I love that one. There was a guy on there that was just really incredible.
Yeah,
some
Mike and
jackass
Dustin were
videos
great in
on
that one. Yeah.
All right, everyone, go listen to their podcast and listen to ours. Thank you for joining us at Get to the Podcast. That's Get to the Podcast with the number 2. My name is Tiago D'Souza.
I'm Nick Gambino.
And I'm Neal Carson.
I'm so excited.
What?
I just can't hide it. I'm about to lose control, and I think I like it.
I know. I want to.
See, we got Mike.
We got Mike to say.
It's
There you go.
infectious.
And
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.